What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Michigan Great Outdoors. I'm your host, Jason Strowski, aka the Polack, and today I have for you the great debate, the number one question I get lately on saddle hunting. If you could only choose one, which one would you choose? Would you choose the new Method 3 saddle that got a lot of hype, a lot of people, were interested in, very beautiful, pretty looking saddle, got a bunch of new technology, or the tried and true Lonestar? So this is derived from the TX5 version of the Lonestar. Lonestar 2.0 is my all-time favorite saddle. And people ask me all the time, they're like, Polack, you've tried them both, you've used them both. If you could only choose one right now, money was no option, what would you choose? The real answer is you buy both and you try both, and whatever one doesn't work for you, you sell. That's the best answer, really, because everybody's gonna be different. What I like, you might like something else. But that question comes to me, what would I choose? And I have a lot of history in the Lonestar. I've been running, the TX5 versions, the 1.0, the 2.0, now the Latitude version. I have a lot of love for this saddle. I think it's a great saddle. Some things kind of did change for me this year. And I'll get to that, but if I was going to pick one of these right now today, it would be this saddle right here. It would be the Method 3. Now, I don't want to slam on the Latitude Lonestar. I think it's a phenomenal saddle. If you're new to the channel, I've always been a big guy. I've been a bigger guy, heavier guy. At one point, I was up to like 287 pounds. I've lost about 63 pounds, just wanting to be healthy, just wanting to live a better life. And something changed. Now, this Lonestar is a regular size. It's not an XL size, but for whatever reason, and I want to tell you guys about what I did. So I did some testing this year where I hunted for 4 days straight. And the first 2 days I spent in the Latitude Lonestar, and then the next 2 days I spent in the Method 3. And I could not get comfortable in the Lonestar. The HPR system, which is that strip that's built in on either side, which is supposed to prevent hip pinch. I never had hip pinch, but those bars were digging into my legs to the point where it just was kind of miserable. And I realized that's not very common for everybody. And obviously when I was heavier and fatter, I had more cushioning there and it wasn't an issue, but it was literally to the point where I was in the tree and I was like, man, I want to get down. This sucks. I didn't have that with this saddle. And really the only thing that's changed is just I've lost weight. I went from a size 40 pants and I'm in a 36 right now. So something's obviously changed my build. I don't have as much cushion in. So for me personally, this saddle is much more comfortable. Is that going to be the case for you? I don't know. But I get a lot of questions on Facebook, Instagram. People hit me up on my socials and they say, hey, Polack, what would you choose? And I thought about it, thought about making a video. And for me, it's the Method 3. I really like this saddle. Obviously, it's a beautiful saddle, but it's also super functional. It's very comfortable. It's just got all this padding now in it. And one of the features that is really impressive to me that, I haven't really experienced as much, because I've done some 2-panel saddles. Obviously I had the Method 2 and I used that for a while, but then I kind of went back to single panels for a long time. But I was in a situation where I was hunting a couple weeks ago and I was really getting close to a really good buck, and I knew that I had a really good chance, and it was getting down to that prime time, and I found myself swaying, that saddle sway when you're bored and you're just kind of swaying and moving. And I realized, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna blow this. I gotta stay still. And so what I did is I deployed that lower panel and I actually sat in my saddle, and I'm a pretty big leaner. I like to lean most of the time, and I actually sat in the saddle and I cradled the tree, and I don't think I moved for 40 minutes. I was surprised how comfortable it was in that position and how I was able to sit and just not make any movement. And if you talk to all the OG saddle hunters, sitting is one of the best ways to not move in your saddle. You just lock into the tree and it just helps you stay still. I can't do that in this saddle. I tried it. It was digging, that HPR was just digging into my sides, and I'm like, dude, this is not gonna work. Maybe if I was heavier, it wouldn't be a problem. So The Method 3 is going to be the saddle for me. Now, I do still have my TX5 Lonestar 2.0. That is my favorite all-time saddle. I will never sell that saddle, so don't even ask, because it's not going anywhere. But the other thing that really I found impressive was these built-in saddle cinchers. You don't have to add carabiners, you don't have to add shock cord, you don't have to add any accessories. Like, this is built in and it works extremely well. I was surprised how well this worked, and I was very happy with how well it worked. The butter bridge, you know, that's another thing, is that saddle has the am steel on am steel. When that thing gets locked in, it's really hard to adjust. This butter bridge is, in my opinion, it's a lot better. It's easier to adjust, especially in that moment of truth. You can grab it and you can break it with one hand. And you know, I like saddle hunting somewhat. I'm almost kind of leaning more towards tree stand hunting lately, just because I think a tree stand's a little bit more versatile. But when I do like to saddle hunt, my main goal is killing deer. I'm not out there for photos and videos and Instagram and try to be cool. Like, I want to go out there and be successful and kill deer. And so you got to be able to move quickly. You know, when that buck's going by, to be able to grab your bridge and adjust if you need it. You know, I don't like running, you know, rope mans or Kong ducks or, you know, rolling locks. I don't like having metal stuff. I like to just use my ropes, and I want to be able to adjust them easily. The one thing that I absolutely will be adding is a tender on the bridge, because I want to be able to reef it up one-handed. I think it's absolutely nuts that they don't provide a tender on every saddle. I mean, it's a small little accessory that would add like $1 to the saddle. So I think that I definitely need to put a tender on here, but this is going to be the saddle that I run for the rest of the season. Obviously, I have the saddle that I use with my tree stand TX5 Minimalist. That's another saddle I'll never get rid of. But yeah, to answer your questions that I've been getting in my DMs, if I could only choose one right now, I would 100% choose this. And that's my opinion. Hopefully this video is helpful for you. If you watch it, it is like November, I think 5th or 6th. It's a beautiful night. I wish I was in a tree, but I had to work today. But remember, you know, it's time to get after it. If you haven't got a deer yet, you cannot freaking kill a deer on the couch. So if you're tired, if you're cranky, whatever, get your ass out in the woods. You cannot kill the buck of your dreams if you're sitting on the couch. So you can watch this YouTube video from your phone. I watch YouTube videos in the tree when I'm bored, because it's better to be in the tree than in the house. Hopefully you get a great buck down this year. I'm rooting for all of you, and thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.